Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to call the November 5th meeting of the Common Council to order. I will ask our clerk to call the roll.
Alderman Lysick.
Here.
May.
Here.
Reinke.
Here.
Rote. Here. Stefanski.
Here.
Vitale.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
Barzak. Here. Shaplesky. Here. And Haas.
Here.
10 present.
We have a quorum. Please rise and join us in the pledge, which will be led by Alderman Lysick.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll move on to item D on our agendas. We have 4 items before us for public hearing this evening. We are going to be taking items 1 and 2 together, and then we will take 3 and 4 together after that. So I will ask the clerk to read out items number 1 and 2.
Resolution relative to determination of application for a special use permit for the Lapham proposed restaurant to be located at 1603 South 81st Street with commercial parking to be located at 1603 South 81st Street, 1600 block of South 82nd Street, and the 1600 block of South 81st Street, and the associated combination Class B alcohol license.
Thank you. Mr. Sean Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a proposal for an adaptive reuse of it was a former funeral home where there was a fire 7-8 years ago, and the site has sat vacant ever since. The location is on 81st and Lapham. It's the proposed conversion to a restaurant with a rooftop patio. It's a near $1.2 million project. Would accommodate seating for up to 154 people. And hours of operation during the week would be 11 to midnight, Friday and Saturday, 11 to 2, and then Sunday, 10 to 9. The zoning of the properties are all C2 neighborhood commercial district, which allows for restaurant and outdoor dining as a special use. This slide just shows the 81st Street corridor is currently all zoned C2 neighborhood commercial district. You can kind of see generally where this property sits in that 81st Street corridor between, it acts as sort of a connector between National and Greenfield Avenues. The city did undertake what was called the National Avenue Corridor Plan a few years back, and 81st Street was noted as a key connector as part of that plan. It was actually included in the plan, in the National Ave plan, this corridor was picked as an important corridor to try to find ways to rehabilitate old sites that might be underutilized and amongst many other things. So you can kind of see where this property sits within that corridor. The proposal is for a restaurant called the Lapham, and it's being the applicant is from Bass Bay Brew House in Muskego. They've been operating. This group has been running the Bass Bay Brew House for about 4 years and have done very well there. And they want to kind of carry that vision forward to this property. They want to do kind of an American comfort food style, vintage feel inside, unique space, has high ceilings and very unique and ornate space inside. They want it to be a local gathering spot for neighbors as well as event space for up to 25 to 50 people. Generally the menu is just going to be traditional, American comfort food, sandwiches, chicken, steak, things of that nature, similar to what they have at the Bass Bay location. Floor plans, building has near 15,000 square feet, split amongst the 2 floors, about 8,500 square feet on the base floor, and then about 4,500 square feet on the second floor with the rooftop dining, as well as catering out of the basement at about 5,000 square feet. And the rooftop dining is planned to be completely screened from view. You can see the slide on the picture on the right shows the rooftop dining shaded, and you can see how far pulled back it is from the actual roof line of the building. So it will sort of sit back from the adjacent residential. This is just a view of the 3 different properties involved in this proposal. There's 2 parking lots, which total 33 parking stalls. 2 parking lots in addition to the parking that's immediately adjacent to the building itself. All totaled 33 stalls. 80 stalls are required. Obviously, this site has sat vacant for years, but when it was operating at full capacity as a funeral home, had a similar sort of use and parking need at the time. And so it's one of those things that we run into on a lot of our east side properties, where if we want to get them revitalized and reused, we need to look at creative ways to do that. As far as the architectural style, it has a very interesting, kind of Spanish style. It was built in 1924, and this proposal would sort of restore that look. Punching in a few new windows on the east side of the property. Do hand troweled stucco to sort of match that Spanish style look that's currently on the building. Add some decorative lighting. And you can kind of see the sort of ornate look of the rails around the rooftop dining and such. The general project schedule is they're looking to close on the property next week on November 12th. Construction scheduled to take place through the winter into the summer, and then the hope is for a fall opening in 2020. Plan Commission has recommended approval at the October 23rd meeting. We did receive one written letter of concern. It was generally about cars pulling out into the alley. Certainly, perhaps some signage and curbing to encourage cars that are exiting the site to turn right out onto Lapham is likely in order. So. It's a very valid concern to try to keep traffic out of the residential portion of the alley if possible. We also are doing number 2 as part of this. That was an item to exceed a request to exceed the liquor license. The city's local quota is at 120. We currently are sitting at 119, and then the state quota is 147. So it can fit into that. It's just a note, I guess, that if this is approved and the liquor license has to go forward, that there may be a need to exceed the quota, as there are other proposals as well, which could take it over the 120 mark once this application goes in. So I'd be happy to take any questions, comments, concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Miller, for the presentation. Are there any questions from the members of the Common Council?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Weigel?
Sean, just a couple quick questions. Did I miss the total number of employees? I think I read 35.
35. Okay.
And you said the building has been sitting empty for several years. Did you say since the fire?
It's vacant since the fire.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if this applicant doesn't buy it, doesn't get approved, what do you think the likely future of that building would be? Sit empty another couple of years, and then what would be the other potential reuses if not this?
Right, it's hard to say. It could be, the C2 category allows for, many different types of neighborhood commercial uses. It's obviously been for sale for many years.
Yeah, apparently the price was too much for somebody who, say, maybe want to put a daycare in or something like,
Right.
And the applicant has an experienced, successful business they're running in Waukesha County and
Yeah, in Muskego.
Big Muskego Lake. And I understand he's a West Allis resident also, right? One of the principals in it. So he's familiar with the neighborhood and he knows what's going on.
Yep, lives down the street and is very excited. Has been looking in West Allis for a property for about 6 months to a year.
Okay. And I think that's probably about it. I will say that I did speak to one of the neighbors a block away on a different issue when we talked about this, and she was very supportive. And she's been in the neighborhood for 38 years, and she's a block away from us. I don't see her here tonight. Nope, she's not here. She said might not make it, but she did say she was very supportive of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Weigel. Any other questions from the Common Council?
Friend of mine,
Alderman Barzak.
two quick questions. Looking at the picture you had from the outside, it looked like there was a double rooftop dining? They just said rooftop dining, and, there looks like there's a high one and a low one?
It's, I believe they're at the same level. It's just two different areas on the rooftop. Where,
All right, because the one looked like it was way up on top, and then it looked like there was one. Okay, so there's just one level of rooftop dining?
Yep.
All right, first question. Second one, do you know the current tax value of that property?
its total's about, it's about $480,000.
Right now?
Yep.
And do you know what, after the improvements, I guess you said they're going to spend 1.2 million?
It's hard to say. I can't say what it would be assessed at, but yes, the project is a $1.2 million
And
project.
you don't have that figured out, what it would be after it's completely renovated and,
I can certainly look into what the assessed value would be. I don't have that answer.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Barzak. Any other questions from the Common Council? Seeing none, are there any comments or questions from the members of the audience? If there are, I'd ask you to come up to this podium here and use the microphone. And please give us your name and address for our official record, either before, and then sign in after your comments or before. I know that's a lot.
Hi there, my name is Nancy Torkey, and I own 1610 and 1612 South 81st Street. It's a church, and we do a lot of weddings and baptisms and special events and church groups and things like that. And the funeral home and myself, we had an arrangement with the parking, since I have no parking at all. I only have street parking, nothing else. And my church accommodates 125. My other building accommodates on one of the floors 75 people, but that building has 4 floors in it. And the one floor is 75 people. So I have to accommodate the weddings and church groups and all things like that, either with the help of the funeral home, which was a blessing because they let us park there as long as there was no funeral. And in the years that I've been there since 2005, now I know that they had the fire, but the time that they were in business, there's only been 3 times when I had to tell all of my guests to park on the street because of a funeral at the same time I had a wedding. So it worked out well between us. And now that the flipper person had purchased it, he decided to come in there and purchase and show up the day that he closed with the dogs and the tow trucks and scary looking dudes, and was yelling and screaming at everybody to get the you know what out of his parking lot. He threw up the signs on there that's no parking. He started charging the neighbors $65 a month to park there. My concern is if I have 200 people on the same corner of 81st and Lapham, where can we park? There's 2 sides to my story. I'm happy that a good restaurant is coming in, and I'm happy with, I think it could be a great scenario for, a wedding and then people going there to maybe have this small event like he's talking about. So I think in that respect it would work well. But I guess I'm a little bit concerned with where do my church people park, where do wedding people park, since I have street parking only on that same corner. And I hear that there's 33 stalls and he's gonna have 35 employees. So now we have employee parking as well as guest, his guest and my guest. So it's kind of a twofold. I'm really excited that he's going to be there, but I'm also a little bit concerned. And then I had stopped into City Hall earlier today and spoke to Tony about the parking lot. There's this much space between the parking lot and my historical building that when they back out, I've been blessed all these years that nobody has bumped into my historical building. They bumped into the fence, you know, I've dealt with that each time. But now, it sounds like, what's your name? It sounds like Ryan will work with me as far as maybe putting something up so people don't run into the historical building. We chatted just a little bit. Sounds like he can't work with me on the parking lot issue, and I understand his kind of business is different than the funeral home. And I want to welcome him to the neighborhood, but I'm a little bit nervous. So that's my concerns.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that has comments or questions on these public hearing items? Come on up. And again, we ask you for your name and address.
Hi there, I'm Deb Decker, and I own a duplex at 1624 South 81st. I also live on 79th and Greenfield. So I live in the neighborhood. My concern is a lot of those neighbors that live around the duplex, including my duplex, don't have parking. And like she had stated, what are we going to do when we have a snow emergency? You can't park on 81st Street, it gets towed right away. And all you're looking at is parking on Lapham, and right now that would be really difficult. And people ride down that street like little banshees. I have been at the duplex a lot, and there is no enforcement of the speed control. I would be worried because there's a lot of little children that live on that street, including in my duplex. And I'm just concerned with the late hours. I understand that it's a restaurant, and I'm very grateful that somebody's going in there, but are we going to have a problem with, I don't mind drinking a beer or two, but are we going to have a problem with needing more police, which I happen to sit on a meeting with you guys in regards to the police force and not being able to add any additional police, but are we going to have problems because of it? Because you have Captain Nick's, you have the Painted Parrot, you have a lot of other bars around that area, and I'm just concerned that we might not have enough force as far as, yes, they might drink, but I don't want anybody hurt. How can we control the traffic as far as the speed and maybe the parking too? Because there's a lot of people that park around there at night, and you can only park on one side of the street. You can't park on both sides of the street. As you know, the rules of the street, you park on even nights, you park on the even side. On odd, you park on the odd. Are we going to be able to park on both sides of the street or not? Because if you're going to stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning, those people that live on that street are going to want to park, and they won't be able to park. So thank you for hearing me out. And I am happy that something is going to be done. It's sad that the funeral home got burnt up, but it's nice that somebody wants to come in and refurbish it, but I'm just concerned about that. Plus, I'm also concerned about one factor, I'm sorry, is if he's going to build that for $1.5 million, what does that do to taxes for us that are owners of land around that? Does that mean that our taxes will go up? Or our values of our homes will go up? How does that work? I don't know. So I would like that explained if you could.
It'd probably be the best question to ask our city assessor, who's not here this evening, but if we can talk during recess, it's really hard to say where home values will go,
Okay.
depending on what's next door to it, but.
Well, but would that mean it would go through all of West Allis? Because I own 2 properties. I own a house and a duplex. So I would get hit twice with if you guys,
Well, there's
Right.
value, but then there's also the budgets that the 5 taxing entities put together, including the city, the county, the schools, and
Right.
we don't know what those will be, so we can't predict what the taxes will be. You know, higher value doesn't always mean that you will have higher property taxes.
Oh, but would it bring up the value of the duplex that is in that area then?
That I'd have to go to the city assessor and talk to him. If you want to talk during, when we have our recess, we can talk and I can get your info and we can
Okay.
have him reach out to you and
Okay,
just
and
give
I-
his opinion.
And I was very grateful that he talked to me prior to this meeting, because I own, I was told that retaining wall and the fence that are in that overflow lot is not mine. It is deteriorating, and it's going to take down my front lawn. It holds up the front lawn of my duplex.
Okay.
And there is no light in the back, which he explained to me. He's going to put a light in the back, which I have complained very much so about it because it is a deep lot, and there needs to be a lot of light in there just for safety purposes. I was told by somebody that I should just make sure that I have my backyard light on at the duplex to make sure that we have security. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me because anybody can get hurt. And that would be another thing is how much light is going to be around that area. I don't understand that part.
Well, the planning department works with the applicant to make sure the lighting isn't spilling over onto other properties.
Okay. And the noise too, with it being open till the wee hours of that.
Well, I think this is a proven and established business owner in another community that has very few issues that I know of.
Okay.
And I've been there, and it's a very well-run operation, and I think that the expectation we all have is that will continue here.
Okay.
And they'll be good neighbors. I have no reason to think otherwise.
Okay.
And it'll be having responsible staff, and we know we have responsible owners, but they hire the right people, and we should be okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate the time.
Thanks for your comments. Is there anybody else that has comments or questions on these first 2 public hearing items? Okay, seeing none, we will close our first 2 public hearings, and I will ask our clerk to read public hearings 3 and 4.
Resolution relative to determination of application for a special use permit for the Reunion Restaurant, a proposed restaurant and event facility to be located at 6610 West Greenfield Avenue, and the associated combination Class B alcohol license.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a proposal for the conversion of a former office building. It was actually originally used as Alice Chalmers' payroll office, and has been many things since. This is a proposed conversion to a full-service restaurant with outdoor space and dining and game areas. The zoning of the property is M1 Manufacturing District, which does allow for restaurants as a special use. Seating for up to 224 people, including 88 outdoor seats. Hours are 10 to midnight with some occasional special events. Parking, 41 are on-site and 60 are required. They do also have access to the large parking lot to the north of the site after 4 p.m. So ample parking is available during the peak use times. This is just a view of sort of how they envision the interior of the building to look, kind of the industrial, kind of historic kind of look. The name of the restaurant that they're looking at doing is called the Reunion, and it's being proposed by Chris Paul, who currently operates the Capri Restaurant at 8430 West Beloit Road. It would have a different menu than what you see at Capri. Burgers and sandwiches and things like that versus Capri, which is obviously an Italian restaurant. The floor plan that you see here, dining on the first floor, large kitchen. Some of the additional features that they are adding an elevator that you see highlighted in blue there, and then a significant porch addition between the building and Greenfield Avenue. We have up to 88 seats within it, and that would kind of well, I'll get into the remainder of the outdoor area on the next slide, but second floor area includes a game room, party room, and other uses along with that. If anybody's ever been to the kind of the Mine Shaft restaurant in Hartford, it's sort of a smaller version of that sort of concept, generally speaking. And this highlights the outdoor area. They're proposing, volleyball courts on the side of the building along Greenfield Avenue, sort of sitting between the current building and the Cousins restaurant. They'd have an outdoor fire pit, and then an area for just different recreational type games like bags and games like that, and then some additional seating to go along with the volleyball and the other games that would be going on outside. They would have an outside bar, and you can kind of just see how the site flows on this. The parking would be located to the north of those things. They do have the 41 stalls on their site, plus the hundreds of additional stalls to the north of that. And that just sort of highlights that. This is a view of the things that would be added to the building. Generally, the look of the building would remain, with the addition of an elevator to sort of complement the existing building, constructed of brick, as well as a front porch addition. The applicant is working with the architect to sort of tighten up the details of what that porch would look like, but it certainly will be, the Plan Commission wanted to ensure that, it would complement the existing building itself. This is a view of one of the early renderings of that, what that front porch could look like. They're certainly playing with many different concepts in regards to that. This is a view of there will be 15-foot high volleyball netting around the Greenfield Avenue elevation, as well as the east elevation of the property line of the site that sort of borders the Cousins drive-through, obviously to ensure that the volleyballs sort of remain within the court areas. They will also have a decorative wall that leads between the building and the volleyball area, as well as along the rear of the site, which would border between the game areas and the parking area. Something similar to what you see out at the Capri restaurant today out in front is sort of the vision for that. It's just an overhead view of, sort of what that general area could look like. And again, they're working on the details of the covered porch. It likely won't look, exactly as you see on here, but you can kind of see the concept of where it would be located and the depth of it, as well as you can see the outdoor bar and another view of the, elevator addition. The site is zone M1. However, that just goes back to historic uses of the site. Staff is recommending that the site be rezoned to C3, and there is a public hearing that would be scheduled for December 17th. The rezoning is not needed to allow for the restaurant to go in. M1 does allow for restaurants. It's just more of a cleaning up the zoning issue where M1 currently goes all the way down to Greenfield Avenue. It may make some sense to rezone that area to more of a commercial zoning to fall in line with uses that might make more sense along that corridor. General project schedule, real estate scheduled to close in mid to late December. Construction scheduled to take place January 20 to June of 20. And the goal is, the hope is to open by midsummer of 2020. And the Plan Commission did recommend approval, subject to working on some of the details with the applicant, and there have been no objections received to date. And then this is just a note of the same liquor license request to exceed the quota may be needed as this goes through the process. So happy to take any questions, comments, concerns.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the Common Council on public hearings 3 or 4?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman May.
Sean, can you describe that netting for me? I mean, two things come to mind. One is like a netting that you'd see at a baseball game where you can see through easily. Another type of netting comes to mind is the kind that catches trash from a landfill. I mean, this isn't going to be that tight-knit, dark type of netting. It's going to be an open netting, like at a Brewers game?
It would be similar to that's exactly what I was going to say. It's similar to the Brewer game style netting that you often see around, different, sort of athletic activities and things like that.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the Common Council?
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Weigel?
And this actually goes back to the previous agenda item number 2, and this is on the over quota part of this liquor license thing. Sean, do you know how many jobs we're talking about here in this one? I see Chris is here. Okay. And again, this is a kind of an underutilized building. It's been for sale. It was the idea that you needed a 2-story building just to do payroll, at Alice Chalmers in the good old days, paper and pencil. And I think Upper Iowa University was in there most recently, but it's been sitting empty, I think, for a while. And the over quota license, to me, this project and the previous agenda, this is specifically the kinds of projects that we want to give over quota, that we would give over quota licenses to. New jobs, increased taxable value, new energy, economic energy for the city. That was it. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions from the Common Council?
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Barzak?
Same questions as the previous one, just follow up like that. The one thing that you did not mention, like the previous project, was about 1.2 million they were going to invest into it. Do you have any kind of figure on this one? You did not mention anything.
Sorry about that. Yeah, this is closer to a $2 to $2.5 million project.
2.5.
Yep.
And again, the current assessed value versus what the assessed value would be after completion?
I'll have to get you that. I will get you that number.
Do you have the current, though?
I don't know it offhand.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the Common Council?
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Lysick?
I'd just like to point out that the city currently owns the building, so it's not taxed.
Okay. But there's probably an assessed value, though.
Sure.
Zero.
A good increment.
Thank you.
So it's not.
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Vitale?
first of all, I mean, I would like to give the owner of Capri, really, he did revive 84th Street, really. I mean, he really gained so much business on that corner, I mean, it's been incredible, So to me, he's a trusted businessman. I think he'll do well in that location on 66 in Greenfield without any problems. So it's really an enhancement for an endurance for the neighborhood, really. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the Common Council? Seeing none, are there any comments or questions from the members of the audience on this item or these items? Okay. Seeing none, we will close public hearings 3 and 4, and we will proceed to item E on our agendas, which is citizen participation. We can here receive information from members of the public during this 30-minute session. We again ask that you give us your name and address for our record, and we ask that you keep your comments to no more than 5 minutes. Is there anybody that wishes to address the council under citizen participation this evening? Okay, seeing none, we will close citizen participation, and we will move on to item F on our agendas, which will lead you to page 2 and tell you that our standing committees will be meeting during recess tonight. The room numbers are listed on page 2 of your agendas. I just want to mention one event coming up under the mayor's report this evening. The 36th annual Community Breakfast of Thanks and Giving is coming up on Monday, November 25th. Those of you that have been to this before know that this is an event that the community comes together and collects food and just kind of has a moment together before the holiday chaos begins. We do use the food collected to restock many of the food pantries in our community over the holiday season. Tickets are available here at City Hall, or I believe you can pay online on the city's website. They are $30, and it is at the Hampton Inn on 82nd and Greenfield. and it starts at 7:15 in the morning with breakfast, and there's a brief program at 8:15. And again, that's on Monday, the 25th of November. I do want to quickly mention that Hale's cross-country team took 15th in the state, and they one of their runners, who's I believe his first name is Josh, last name is Trushan, actually finished 4th in the state in the cross-country meet, so that was quite an accomplishment for the Huskies. Just want to congratulate him. That does conclude the mayor's report this evening. Are there any alderpersons' reports?
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Lysick.
I move for approval of minutes of the Common Council meeting of October 15, 2019.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Are there any changes to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The minutes are approved. License and Health Committee, Alderman Chaplesky. Did I skip something?
Yes.
Whoa, I skipped a whole half a page. All right, let's go back to item J. I was just testing Alderman Chaplesky. I will ask for a motion to send items 6 through 10 to the city attorney.
Second.
So moved.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now, we will go to standing committee reports, license and health.
Mayor Devine, I will report those out after recess.
Okay. Move to item L, a motion for reconsideration.
I move for reconsideration of item number 17.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Mayor Devine,
Alderman May?
at a minimum, I'd like to change my vote on this. I also took a look at past salary increases, and I think we added much more than what the percentage increases were for our employees over that same amount of time. So I'd like to apologize.
We have to vote on reconsideration first.
We already voted to reconsider.
No.
Oh, I apologize. No discussion on the motion.
No discussion on the motion? Okay, on the motion to reconsider, so an aye would be to reconsider, a no would be to not. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Lysick.
No.
May.
Aye.
Reinke.
No.
Road.
No.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Tally.
No.
Weigel.
Aye.
Barzak.
No.
Plesky.
Aye.
And Haas.
No.
6 to 4.
6 to 4, no.
Motion fails.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman May?
does that mean I cannot change my vote?
It does.
Thanks, everyone. I would have voted no. Thank you.
Item M? Alderman Lysick?
Mayor Devine, I move for stand in recess until conclusion of the committee meeting.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We are in recess.